You guys are the best.
Appreciate y'all.
Even you, Swaggo. We love you.
Around the horn. Music me. Notre Dame's thrilling win. And Penn State's crushing loss. We'll go around the horn on that. And tonight, the other half of our national championship matchup puzzle. Ohio State in Texas. Ball night! And music me again. NFL Super Wildcard Weekend on average. There's one upset in Super Wildcard Weekend. Who could it be now? Let's go around the horn.
Are we still calling it Super Wild Card Weekend? I thought we dropped it.
I have a hot take on that. I have a very, very scorching hot equatorial take on that. We'll get to that in by ourselves. We start with college. On the 9th day, the playoffs gave us a game. Jeremiah Love, you can't hurdle? Yes, he can. Notre Dame, they can't kick field goals? Yes, they can. Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman can't win the big game? Here you go. James Franklin gonna be rethinking those last 2 minutes for a long time. Drew Aller is going to be wanting that throwback for a long time. How defense and then offense flexed and how Notre Dame thrived in the clutch. All foreseen by one clairvoyant correspondent, the cunning Courtney Cronin. Here's a quick calculation for your correct conjecture, Courts, and a crafted query for you. It was last night more about what Notre Dame did well or Penn State failed to do?
I'm going to pick up what you were putting down when you said James Franklin's going to be thinking about those final 2 minutes. He's probably going to be rethinking, infantilizing Marcus Freeman. Wait, how old are you? What about your hairline? Oh, how about he has a really good team and you didn't need to give him any more bulletin board material than you already did. So to me, Notre Dame's fantastic. We can talk about them later. This is about the collapse of all collapses that we saw from Penn State last night, Tony. They were in control of the game. They were up 10-3, and then they get outscored 24-14, outgained by 112 yards. And I just cannot understand why James Franklin allowed for that to happen. And on top of that, Drew Aller, I know he's had completion issues in the postseason, but to throw that ball across the middle of the field, I know he said he was trying to dirt it at his receiver's feet. You do that at a running back in the flat, not that risky throw that he made. He couldn't target receivers all night long. This was the issue I expected to happen when the magic of Penn State's offense ended up running out.
Kevin Clark, around the horn to you. Was it about Penn State unable to close out that first half lead or Notre Dame and the way they put it together late?
It was about that Notre Dame defense. First of all, there were people this week saying that Drew Aller might be a top 5 pick. If you said that, I'm revoking your ball knowledge card. And in the words of Stephen A. Smith, you're under surveillance because this was not even an NFL-style performance, let alone a top 5 first-round pick style of performance. This Notre Dame defense has the most points off of turnovers in 10 years. That is significant. They lead the nation this year in takeaways, and Al Golden has that secondary playing really, really well. So yes, it was a collapse. Courtney's right, but it wasn't an incidental collapse. Notre Dame knows what they're doing on the defensive side of the ball. Drew Aller was making those mistakes. 70% completion percentage in the regular season. Last night, barely completing 50% of his passes. He made wide receivers into bystanders. This was a bad performance, accelerated by a great Notre Dame defense.
Woody Page, around the horn to you.
Well, as much as Kevin favors what Notre Dame did last night, I'm putting the blame on Penn State. You're talking about Franklin having to think about what happened in the game at the end. Every time he plays a big game, he has to think about it afterward because he loses all of them. And last night was another example of that you got the ball deep in your territory with a chance to go down and kick a field goal. You run the ball for 13 yards. Why are you throwing a pass? Why are you calling a pass play? Yes, we can blame the quarterback for what he did in that situation, but that should be another running play. Or you just go to overtime and see if you can't beat Notre Dame, but you don't throw a pass in that situation in your end of the field because look what happened. So I'm blaming Penn State for everything that happened last night because they had the lead, they got it back, they were in a position to win the game, and they let it go.
And Tim Callis, shall we turn your attention to you? We talked about the correct prognostication from one of our panelists yesterday. It kills me to say we'll have to go the other way with you. You had Penn State in this game. Please go.
Tony, I think this is the kind of game where you throw out the pregame predictions. It was so close. It was 24-24 with a few seconds to go.
No, we're not doing that.
Both teams averaged 5.2 yards per carry.
It was
dead even.
Yeah, it was an even
until
game,
until that final throw by Drew Aller. I think the refs missed a holding call on that interception. Would have helped Penn State a little if they could have got that third flag on an interception. But I think Notre Dame deserves the credit. I think the backup quarterback, Steve Angeli, coming in the second quarter when they had no points, lead them down to get that field goal before the half, even though it's 3 points, with them getting the kickoff. That got them back in the game. And then, as Courtney pointed out, they owned the second half on both sides of the ball. And they proved they were the better team last night.
Courtney, you called it a collapse for Penn State. I'm going to retroactively dock some points there. I mean, it wasn't like they were up 4 scores and let it get away.
Talk
about Notre Dame, please. You said we're going to have time to talk about Notre Dame. Here's your time. Did you not leave the Orange Bowl more impressed with the Irish, Courtney?
Absolutely. Think about what they've been doing on this path. They've been without a cornerback who's probably a first-round pick in April, without 3 of their starting defensive linemen since October, and they put on that type of defensive performance. Christian Gray with the interception to seal it and to put them in position to kick a field goal. This was the worst field goal kicking team in college football, Tony. 41 yards is not a chip shot. So for Mitch Jeter, who's battled through a groin injury, battled through inconsistency issues, to send his team to the national championship that way, dare I say, the Notre Dame that I grew up with, the arrogance and all of that, they're the most likable team that anybody can get behind.
That's
in
what I'm
college
here
football.
for. And you know what I love about Mitch Jeter's father has been prominently on television the last couple of games, but he's shooting with the cell phone camera. There's a million cameras in the
Doing it
stadium.
sideways.
We're going to get video,
Total
Dad.
dad
But
mode
no,
going
Dad
like
needs
this.
it on his own phone so he can send it out right away. I love that. Absolutely love that. Woody, I'm going to give you a last word here. Talk up Notre Dame. I know you thought the end of this game was because Penn State gave it away, but what has impressed you about the Irish?
Well, they won all those games by double digits, and there was the thought all season long, you had to look back to that loss that they had at the beginning of the season, and now we can erase that. But here's the situation. That was a sticky call on the interception in the end zone, so they came back with another interception. That really impressed me, that they could have been down and out because of that. But yes, I was very impressed with the defense. I think the pressure that they put on Aller toward the end of the game, I think that made such an impression on me that this is a good defensive team that could win the national championship.
And who will they play? We'll find out tonight. Let's go. Bowl night! Cotton Bowl, Ohio State. Ever since that Michigan flag touched dirt in Columbus, a new team, or maybe the team you always thought they were, angry, aggressive, explosive. Texas, have they played their best ball yet? How much will the game being played in Arlington lift them? Will Howard versus Quinn Ewers? Defense here, again, for both very strong. I've had people tell me all week, this is the championship game. These are the 2 best teams right here. Kevin Clark, how will tonight's game be won?
This is the championship game. These are the 2 best teams, Tony Realy.
Make the argument, because I just saw Notre Dame last night, and they looked very, very solid.
Sure. That side of the bracket was significantly weaker. Oregon, a team that got boat raced by Ohio State, beats both of those teams on the other side of the bracket. But let's put a pin in that for just 1 second, because I'm going Ohio State here for a couple reasons. Number one, they are getting over 20 yards on a play on 11% of their plays in this CFP right now. That is significant. Texas is 109th in the country at allowing 20-yard plays. They allow a 40% completion percentage on those 20-yard downfield throws. That's significant. Jeremiah Smith, 14 receptions for touchdowns. That is the second most by a freshman since Michael Crabtree in 2007. So this is a significant offense. I like Ohio State here. They win the national championship.
Woody Page, how will tonight be won?
I'd like to put a pin in Kevin Clark's balloon, but I got to agree with him on a couple of points. Although you're talking about Texas's defense not being very good, they're number 3 in the country. Ohio State's number 1. defensively overall. The two quarterbacks have virtually the same statistics. So what does it come down to? You brought it up, a freshman wide receiver named Jeremiah is not a bullfrog. He's a Buckeye. He had 70 catches, 1,224 yards. But here's what's impressive in this game, that he's 6'3". He weighs over 220 pounds. Guess what he's going to be going against in the secondary of Texas? Guys that are 5'10", 5'11". He's going to have such an advantage in this game. I think he's going to be the difference. I think that's what's going to win the game, is Jeremiah catching passes.
Tim Kalishaw, around the horn to you.
I think we have to be careful about recency bias. Yes, Ohio State has looked much better than Texas in the CFP in those two games, obliterating the number one team in the nation while Texas struggled past Arizona State. But I think Arizona State was better than people realize. Having said all that, Texas will get pressure on Will Howard. He hasn't had a lot of pressure on him in these games. When they lost to Michigan, when they lost to Oregon the first time, when they had a close game with Penn State and won with their defense, Will Howard under pressure was not the same quarterback. I think we will see a little less of a fantastic offense from Ohio State tonight. Having said all that, Trevion Henderson is a great running back who, if they're covering the receivers, is going to make plays. I do think Texas covers the spread.
Well, we'll get to that. Wait, how many times are you going to say having said that? Having said that, we're going to give a mute there, and that is now a banned phrase on this here program for one panelist, and one panelist only, Mr. Kalishaw. CC, how will tonight's Cotton Bowl be won?
Well, it's a pick your poison sort of game. To Tim's point, if you're taking away the receivers, and Texas has one of the best pass defenses in college football, that's fine. So then you've got Quinshon Judkins and Trevion Henderson, who have combined for 1,800 yards, 20 touchdowns, 6.2 yards per carry in 14 games this year. I'm confident in that backfield, but I'm really confident in Will Howard. He had one 300-yard passing game before the CFP. He's had two in back-to-back weeks against Tennessee and against Oregon. If you can get Jeremiah Smith going, if you can get Emeka Egbuka going, it's going to be a long night for Texas. But even if you can't get the pass game going, you still have a really great backfield. So I think it's Ohio State going to play Notre Dame.
And that's your pick, Ohio State. Let's go around the horn here. Kevin Clark, who you got tonight?
Buckeyes 30-20.
Paige, who you got?
Ohio State.
And Tim Kalishaw, is this the type of game you think back on the predictions afterwards? Let's see, who you got?
Yeah, I will be thinking back on it. Texas will lead in the second half. Ohio State wins by a field goal.
Taking a break. We got a three-dog night ahead. Buy or sell?
Please. Where was that coming from?
Super Wild Card Weekend. Yes, it has been reported, or at least there's a feeling the NFL doesn't want it to be known as Super Wild Card anymore. Not with that attitude. Believe in yourself, NFL. Let's go round the horn. Super Wild Card. Biggest favorites, of course, the Bills and Ravens. Ravens by 9.5 over Pittsburgh. Buffalo by 9 over Denver. But does that belie the history between the Steelers and Ravens? Mike Tomlin versus Lamar Jackson and vice versa. Or maybe something in the Broncos-Bills matchup. Woody, that's your jurisdiction. Of the Ravens or Bills, who do you think should be more wary of an upset?
Well, you've got last year's Broncos quarterback and this year's Broncos quarterback, and they're both the underdogs in the game. I'm going with the rookie from this year, Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos, because the Buffalo Bills secondary is the weakest part of that team. And over the last 7 games, Bo Nix has matured, 19 touchdowns against 6 interceptions. The game that he played last week against Kansas City, I give the Broncos a Sugar Ray Leonard chance.
A puncher's chance. Yes, you've said that before. Okay, so then you're focusing on the Bills being maybe wary of this matchup. That's the one you're selecting as a team that could be upset. Tim Kalishaw, how about you?
That's what I said.
I don't know if agreeing with Woody is the way to begin this comeback, but that's what I'm going to do here. In addition to what he said, Buffalo gives up a lot of long drives, gives up a lot of big plays in the run. I have no idea which Broncos running back Sean Payton will select from the wheel this week, but I'm going to pick the team that's been playing well, not the Steelers, who've lost 4 in a row.
Right, Cronin?
They're not beating the Ravens.
3 for 3 if we're looking at potential upsets. Bo Nix, and we know about rookie quarterbacks, 0-5 in the last 10 years outright, 1-4 against the spread in playoff games. If they're going to win, he's going to need some help from this defense. And this pass rush for the Broncos is one of the best in the NFL. If they're going to win this game, they're going to need contributions from Nick Bonito, from Patrick Surtain to do what other teams have not been able to do, which is sack Josh Allen.
Kevin Clark, Bills or Ravens, who should be more wary?
Yeah, it's a good day to be a Buffalo Bill because it's 4 for 4. It's a clean sweep. I'm putting the Bills on upset alert if I had to choose between these two teams. I think that generally, you look at what the Bills have been able to do this year, it's been fine, but third down defense has been a problem all year long. They haven't been able to get the quarterback on the ground. Bo Nix is really good at avoiding sacks, and here's a stat. This is the sixth time a wildcard game has had a top 3 scoring offense versus a top 3 scoring defense. Defense is 4-1 in those matchups.
So you're circling Denver as well. Nobody thinks the history and of the rivalry between the Steelers and the Ravens and Zay Flowers being out could make them susceptible. Kevin Clark?
Can't go that way.
This Steelers team hasn't shown me anything for a month. Although, again, it's a clean sweep, so I'm sure the Steelers will win.
Buy or sell 2, Packers-Eagles injury update. Jalen Hurts cleared concussion protocol. Full practice this week. Will play. Jordan Love being monitored for a sore right elbow, but he's still tracking to start. A.J. Brown practiced today, missed practice yesterday. Devontae Smith missed practice today. Back tightness for him. Christian Watson definitely out for Green Bay. Rematch of week 1. But I'm sure you'll tell me it's so different this time around. Philly did win that game at neutral site. Tim? On the health factor in this one and the X factor as you see it.
I think the health is important, but I still want to see Jalen Hurts play. I know he's out of concussion protocol. I know he's going to start. He's had a lot of slow starts. The Eagles' offense has had a lot of slow starts. I saw in person what a fast-starting 7th seed Green Bay could do to a team in the playoffs last year. I don't expect it to be 27-0 in the second quarter, but I do give the Packers a chance to stay in this game a lot more than people think.
Cody Cronin.
Why I didn't pick the Steelers for an upset is why I'm not picking the Green Bay Packers. I don't have confidence in Green Bay right now. They've lost 3 of their last 5 games. They're 1-5 against NFC playoff teams. They're not playing very good football at the moment. Yes, injuries are a concern. Philly's slow starts are always a concern. They seem to somehow get it going en route to winning the 2 seed in the NFC. And by the way, they have a guy named 2K Saquon Barkley. No matter what uniform he's wearing against the Green Bay Packers, he's their kryptonite. 3 straight games, 100 yards from scrimmage, and a touchdown against Green Bay.
Kevin Clark.
Yeah, Tim, you cannot compare the Dallas Cowboys to the Philadelphia Eagles because in the last 30 years, the Eagles have won a big game at some point. And they're going to win some big games this January because I think if Jalen Hurts is fully healthy, and obviously that's a question, we have to see him play. I agree with Tim on that one. But if Jalen Hurts is fully healthy, then the Eagles are going to win the NFC. They're the most talented
Okay, so you agree
team.
with Tim with
They have a
something.
great secondary. Yeah. No, I think the Packers, I picked them to make the Super Bowl before the season, but their defense hasn't taken the leap I thought it was going to take. I just think that Christian Watson being out is going to matter. Jordan Love, let's see what his health is. I like the Eagles here this January. I'll see them in New Orleans.
Woody Page.
I don't think the Eagles are going to need a Philly special. They've got a running back, as Courtney said, that's going to make a difference. Jacobs may be a good runner, but Barkley is a great runner and should have had the record if he had played in the last game. I think the 2 quarterbacks will X each other out because their health won't be 100%, but I think they both play very competent games, but one of them is going to be on a team that's a lot better than the other, and that's the Eagles.
So the quarterbacks X each other out. The X factor is Saquon Barkley. Just to circle back, because I know we were talking a lot of hypotheticals. Everybody has Buffalo winning that game versus Denver. Or Woody, are you going out on a limb here?
No, not at all.
Okay, just making sure. Tim Cowler Show, Kevin Clark, thank
What
you
more
for
do
your
you
time
want?
today. Paige Cronin, Showdown next. Wild Card Weekend Commanders Buccaneers preview. This was the game every panelist earlier in the week was super excited for. Focus on the quarterbacks here, as this game has the highest over/under. It could be a shootout, and also knowing their defenses. Woody, who'd you rather have, Baker Mayfield in his 5th playoff spot or Jaden Daniels in his 1st playoff?
I know everybody's in love with the guy who's going to be the Rookie of the Year, but give me the tough guy. Baker Mayfield reminds me of playing like an offensive lineman. He just gets right in the mud and the dirt and does the job. I want Baker Mayfield on my team for this game because he's going to win.
Toni Cronin.
I'm riding the hot hand here. I'm going with the player who set completion percentage and rushing records for a rookie quarterback in Jaden Daniels. He's going to be doing it against a below-average pass defense. I am calling the upset.
Well, we needed one upset this week. Remind me, Courtney, what you said about the record of rookie quarterbacks in the playoffs recently.
Yeah,
you told
I
us that
understand
just
they're
a minute
0-5
ago.
outright in the last
So
10
then you
seasons,
forgot
but
that
I am calling
stat
the
as we
upset.
went to commercial? I don't know. Woody gets the point. Showdown 2. AFC South. If they were to play in a game, Super Wildcard Weekend, what slot might you find them? First game Saturday afternoon. Every year it's the Texans, and they're playing the Chargers. Don't need to say any more, Courtney. Who you got?
This is the Cronin guarantee. By tomorrow afternoon, we will no longer be talking about this team squandering a 27-point lead in the playoffs. Better quarterback, better coach, better defense, Chargers.
Woody Page.
Yes, I've got to agree totally with Courtney on this. I think absolutely. Better quarterback, better, I'm repeating this, but better coach, better defense. You didn't mention that, Courtney.
I did like it better the
That's
first
gonna
time.
make the difference, the defense.
But better pizza, better toppings. Woody Page. I mean, that sounds like you guys are doing a commercial here. Please, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Tony. I want to reach out to all our viewers in Great Britain. I'm standing up for you. This is not fair, NFL. Every year, you have done Jacksonville. You have done Cleveland. You have done the New York Jets. Why don't you send them some great teams to play in a game? They've done Perth. I don't want that anymore. I think it's a possibility that you send the 2 Super Bowl teams to London the next year.
Better showdown, better FaceTime.
His first Pro Bowl. With that, senior NFL writer Jeremy Fowler joining us to get us ready for the weekend. Let's stay with that Steelers-Ravens game. And George Pickens causing quite a stir in Pittsburgh.
What?
No surprise.
Who knew?
What's the latest here?
It's been that way for the last 3 years, Kevin. They are expecting big plays from George Pickens. They believe that when he's good, he's a tone setter. As one person with the team told me, when he's working hard and he's in the right place, he is a guy who can wear a gold jacket when he's done. He's that talented. But that's the problem. It's been erratic. So they don't know exactly what they're going to get week to week. They are expecting big plays for him to keep the Ravens defense honest. But I was told from other teams to watch for Pat Freiermuth, the tight end, because they're going to sag on Pickens a little bit over the top. They're hoping Freiermuth can get it done over the middle, get some easy yards for him. Chargers getting healthy at the right time. They got running back J.K. Dobbins. He's questionable, but is expected to go. He's got a little bit of an ankle knee issue he's been dealing with really for the last 2 months, but he's their 1,000-yard back ready to go. And then Quentin Johnston, who had a huge game, nearly 200 yards last week, career high. I am told, quote, he is good to go from a source. He was dealing with a thigh issue and an illness. They both will be in the lineup. And then you got Jordan Love had a bit of an elbow issue, kind of like a funny bone problem on his right elbow. Gripping the ball was the problem early in the week, but he's doing fine. He progressed in practice, was a full participant, so he seems to be trending upward.
Packers 5.5-point dogs in South Philly. Packers are, by the way, 5-1 in their last 6 appearances in the wild card round.
That's really good. Of course, obviously the immediacy of the injuries that you just ran through, but let's talk about a non-playoff injury that is potentially huge. Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson underwent a second Achilles tendon surgery, putting his 2025 season in jeopardy. Watson, you'll remember, was injured October 20th. He's now played in only 19 games since signing that enormous contract in Cleveland. Browns might be looking for a quarterback with that second pick in the draft. Just to remind you of sort of the landscape around Deshaun Watson, right? Signs a 5-year, $230 million fully guaranteed contract ahead of the 2022 season, is suspended for the first 11 games. Did have a strong start to last season, but then missed the final 9 games of the season due to shoulder surgery. This season, he went 1-6 through 7 starts before tearing his Achilles the first time, not pictured here. All of his numbers, career worst. Not great. How does this news impact the Browns draft, though, Jeremy?
Well, the Browns were expected to scour the earth for quarterback help, regardless of whether Watson got hurt again. Now that he's hurt, that only intensifies their efforts. Team sources have told me that really any quarterback, a veteran quarterback with starters, potential, or ability will be evaluated by the Browns. So you take like a free agent like Sam Darnold, probably too costly for a team that's already paying Watson big money, but they're going to be looking all over. That includes Kirk Cousins, who could be on the cheap if Atlanta could pry him away from that contract or maybe facilitate a trade. So they're going to be looking around. They had not completely given up on Watson in hopes there. They thought like physically, when he's healthy, he can still get it done if he can come down with Kevin Stefanski's system. But now, I mean, the whole season for 2025 in serious doubt. They're going to be looking around. Could be a draft